It's interesting that as I begin this recording today, and I guess leveraging or following up to yesterday's topic that was totally unscripted, but this one has a little bit of structure to it. I did write down some notes for some references for this topic today, but I guess I'll call this, a follow-up from yesterday, or part 2 from yesterday, also known as the present moment. But as you saw in the tagline or the title, the topic for today is the meeting. One more time, or another time, I'm citing that statement made by Mr. Martin Buber, an Australian Jewish philosopher, and probably written, many decades ago. About the title was I and Thou in that book. And in there, it talks about, in those 2 words I mentioned to you in yesterday's episode, about the purpose that we are here is to meet. Now, in this topic today, from me to you, the meeting, you might connect that topic yesterday to today, say, well, is that the reason to have this meeting? No. The action and purpose that comprises the message in every single encounter you will have today is the purpose. That is the reason. Not just talking and saying nothing, as Public Enemy said back in the day. No, the words coming out of your pie hole and the actions you take, every step you take, that must reflect your purpose and message. It sounds very simple, sounds elementary, sounds almost like silly to say that is the reason for the meeting and everything I do should reflect that purpose and message. It seems kind of like what's it called? Circular logic. But let's just keep going with this. Everything you do must reflect that purpose and message. Otherwise, I would say you're just saying nothing and not having much impact on yourself or to others. So again, it's kind of tied into a discussion about courage the other day that I made out here. And definitely is connected tightly to the overall 820 resilience concept. This is a simple metric to default to your best courage and with your least vanity or arrogance in every moment and in every day. I know I typically oftenly cite words from Mr. Ryan Holiday, that fantastic gentleman who puts out a daily and I think weekly message about Stoicism. And he has written tomes of books on this topic. But he said something, or came across something, I think on a reel or YouTube somewhere the other day, or just an email, where Mr. Ryan Holiday also put something out that kind of caught my attention and connects to this thing about meeting. So let's start with what he was saying the other day from Ryan Holiday. Quote, because so much of Stoicism comes down to us in books, it's easy to assume that it's a written philosophy. That philosophy was something the Stoics did alone, in private, hunched over a wax tablet or some unfurled scroll. Isn't that how we got Meditations or Seneca's letters? Yes, but that's not how we got the philosophy itself. Stoicism began on a porch in Athens, where Zeno would talk and trade ideas with whomever was around. The great playwright David Mamet had a funny way of putting it on a podcast a while back. What he loves about the Stoics, he says, is that they were just quote unquote porch guys, just regular people hanging out, talking about how to become the best version of themselves. Cato, the man widely admired as the greatest Stoic of them all. There isn't even a second-hand record of his words. We know that he liked to do his philosophizing on foot. Plutarch says he would take a meandering walk through Rome, talking with whoever he met on his rounds. And for all of his austere habits, his other practice was philosophical dinners, where he talked about ideas long into the night. Epictetus never wrote anything down. His discourses come from a student who tells us that whatever I used to hear him say, I wrote down, word for word, as best I could, as a record for later use of his thought and frank expression. That's how Epictetus taught, in person, going back and forth in real time. So for most of its history, Stoicism was a spoken, conversational philosophy. It meant to be heard. It's meant to be talked about. Meant for that back and forth. And this is a long, unbroken tradition that goes back thousands of years. One that continues to this day. Unquote. So that's from Mr. Ryan Holiday. And again, as I said before, I hope to get to that level where I can cite something, put in my own commentary, and give you a new, refreshed perspective on something that is not new in this world. Thousands of years, tens of thousands of years written before, undone before. But maybe today, in 2026, we can at least have a different lens or aspect on this gem of wisdom that maybe has gone unnoticed for a while or covered up by the latest and greatest technology gadget. As he said, Mr. Holiday said, in citing those writings about how Stoicism started and continues, as simply as it can be, it's a shared, spoken philosophy. That's how it gets passed on. That's how we communicate. That's how we observe. If with nothing else and no one else but with ourselves. But again, connected to yesterday's topic, our reason for being here, our purpose, our message, our actions is simply in we must meet. The meeting is the action, as Mr. Holiday said and cited in that dispatch. Back in the day, it was no more than walking around, engaging, meeting with people, discussing, maybe even debating, but having a rounded, full, and engaging, listening, talking, reasoning conversation. I hope this helps you with that perspective. Stay present, stay current. Wherever you are in this world, please remember, it is always 8:20.